There are currently 6 coaching jobs available in the National Football League, and our coordinators, both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, are 2 of the hottest candidates out there right now. Now, Ben Johnson has been a hot candidate for quite some time, and I think for the first time under Dan Campbell, that Aaron Glenn is more than just a token black guy. With what he's done with our defense, we have 16 individuals on IR that are on the defensive side of the ball. Our entire defensive line outside of DJ Reader is on season-ending IR. I think that Aaron Glenn, this is his first real opportunity at a head coaching job. But in this case, we're talking about Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson has been heavily linked to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I think that would be a really, really dumb decision, seeing as how Mark Davis loves to be involved with the decisions that are being made. And unlike Sheila Hemp, who puts the people who know what they're doing in place and gets out the way, he is just like his dad. He wants to be heavily involved. Now, if I'm Ben Johnson, I stay far away from the Raiders organization. And Tom Brady would not be enough to lure me in. You are playing their next head coach. They will be paying 4 individuals, 4 coaches, concurrently. Still paying John Gruden, still paying Josh McDaniels, still paying Antonio Pierce, and whatever contract that they give their new head coach. But if Ben Johnson decides to take this job, according to somebody from Raiders beat, wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson was to try to take Hendon Hooker with him. Let's take a look at this coming from A to Z Sports, what Carpenter had to say. It says Hooker already knows the Ben Johnson system. And what if you get him for a 2nd round pick or whatever you could get him for, says Carpenter via RaidersBeat.com. I think it's fascinating. I don't think it's getting enough attention, so I'm throwing it out there. I think that's a very viable option for the Raiders. I'm not in any way reporting it's done. Detroit would have to want to do the deal. But I think if the Raiders were to get Ben Johnson, and he's clearly the front runner, I think Hooker is a real possibility, and I did not come up with that on my own. This last part here, meaning that according to him, that statement would indicate to me that if he's not making this up, that he's heard something from somewhere, some insider somewhere, that if Ben Johnson was to go to the Raiders, that he could see bringing him trying to get Hendon Hooker. Now, as far as I know, Ben Johnson is under contract. I'm not sure how long his extension was, because remember 2 years ago when the Lions went 9-8 and Ben Johnson, we turned our season around. We went 8-2 over our last 10 games, and the offense was starting to roll. Everybody wanted a piece of Ben Johnson. So Sheila Hemp does what a smart owner does, and instead of meddling in, she meddled the right way. She said, "Yo, how much you want? Name your price." Threw him the bag. He was extended. Now, 2 years later, will she be able to do that again? Or are we at the point where Ben Johnson just says, you know what? I want to be a head coach. And if you were to go to the Raiders, so he has to be allowed to go to the Raiders or go to the Raiders, however that works out. Now, when it comes to Hendon Hooker, he obviously can't just take him with. Any coordinator that is not under contract, he could probably try to get to come over there. I could see either one of the coordinators taking some positional coaches with them. Now, Hendon Hooker, what are we talking about here? I'm going to put it before you. Would you part ways with Hendon Hooker for a 2nd round pick? 100%. I know a lot of people love Hendon. They want to see the guy shine. He's not going to shine in Detroit. This would be a fantastic opportunity for the Las Vegas Raiders to see what they have in Hendon Hooker, or have him be the bridge guy until their guy comes out. Because if you look at the draft class, there might be 2 starting quarterbacks coming out of the 1st round. And who knows where they're going to go? Do you want to put that on a rookie? Do you want to, or do you even like these guys like that? The Raiders organization is going to be in a rebuild year. I would do this in a second. I know it sounds really mean. Now, Derek, what about our backup quarterback situation? We could get one. We could sign Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones may not stay in Minnesota. We could sign him. We could sign Jake Fromm. Teddy Bridgewater is probably going to retire for good this time. Goff is not going anywhere. Hendon Hooker is 2 years younger than Goff. Hendon Hooker's contract is over after Goff's. If Ben Johnson says, hey, as a matter of fact, I got the perfect hookup. Ben Johnson, you head over there. Listen, this is what I'm going to say. I would take this, all right? But I'm going to say this, okay? Let's do this. Ben Johnson, you want Hendon Hooker? Fine. We want Max Crosby. Now, you guys know that on my list, it is going to be Myles Garrett. It would be TJ Watt. It would be Max Crosby. And then anybody after that. I say, listen, let's be real. You need a bargaining chip, right? Now I could give you Hendon Hooker for a second, or you can give me a late round pick and Max Crosby, and I give you Hendon Hooker, Max Crosby pushing 30, coming off an injury. We picking late in the first round. I give you a first. I'll give you a first, Hendon Hooker. You give me Max Crosby and a 4th or 5th rounder. Done deal. Now, if you're not going to add Max Crosby, then I would try to finesse. And we know Brad is a finesser. Now, I'm going to tell you what. If I am, now you go, and that's what I'm saying, like you would irritate Mark Davis to no end. He's emphatically said last trade deadline that Max Crosby was not on the table. That was before they fired. That was before they fired Antonio Pierce. That was before they actually traded, right around the time they traded Devontae Adams. And don't forget, this is why if I'm Ben Johnson, this organization is not a thing to me, because you hired John Gruden. You're coaching. The fact that you're paying for coaches, that's a red flag. The fact that you don't have a quarterback, that's a red flag. The fact that the 3 guys or the 2 guys that vouch for the guy that you just hired, and the only reason you hired Antonio Pierce is because of what you did to the interim coach before that when you fired John Gruden. You fired John Gruden, and you wanted this guy. Every of the players wanted this guy. I forgot his name. But the interim head coach that took over for Gruden, they loved him. You fired him. Then when Antonio Pierce took over for Josh, you didn't want to make the same mistake, but you made one anyway. So for me, I would Hendon Hooker for sure. If you give us a second, yeah, I'll do that. But what I would try to do is I would try to finesse, because remember now, the Raiders also need a general manager. That's another reason. If I'm Ben Johnson, I'm not going near the Raiders organization. You need a general manager. You need a head coach. Mark Davis is a meddler, and you don't have a quarterback. And do you want to spend your draft pick on one that's coming out this year in the draft? So if I'm the Detroit Lions, I would probably give up Hendon anyway, but I would try my best to finesse. Throw in Max Crosby. Give you Hendon Hooker and a 1st-round pick. You give us Max Crosby and a 4th or 5th. That's a done deal. Let me know what you would think in the comments below. And do you believe that there's any truth to what this individual Carpenter is saying, that if Ben Johnson goes to the Raiders, that Hendon Hooker could be a possibility? I mean, I could see it. The Raiders they are terrible, and O'Connell wasn't the answer. Is Ritter over there? I think he's over there. He's not the answer, right? You literally can't get any worse with Hendon Hooker. And whether you're not, let's be real, you're not going to turn this organization around in a year. So odds are you're going to be picking top 10 next year. Get your guy next year, right? So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I do this. I do it regardless, but I try to get Max Crosby in that deal. But I would love to know your thoughts. For me, Ben Johnson, don't go. Just Ben, wait for the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals, outside of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I say this before, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm calling Kansas City. I'm saying, listen, I ain't trying to be rude, okay, but Maybe I talk to Andy. I'm like, Andy, listen, you got a perfect situation over there. I love it. I'm loving it in Detroit. That's the one how long you think you got? How long do you think you got? Well, I'm going next 5 years. Okay. Patrick Mahomes will be what? Over 10 years in the league at that point. Okay. Maybe not the same quarterback. So then I'm saying, okay, let me sit back. Coach the Detroit Lions, be the offensive coordinator, stay hot, be like the newest version of Eric Bieniemy. Up my stock. Yeah, you could drop some stock, but up my stock, keep it going, okay? And wait for not necessarily the perfect opportunity, but the right opportunity. If you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, outside of being cheap, their organization got a cheap problem. They do. But you don't really hear too much about at least I don't, about the owner. And you got a guy that's going to be paid in Jamar Chase. You've got Joe Burrow locked down. You got to get that defense right. Got to get another wide receiver now that T. Higgins is probably going to be gone. Take care of Trey. Take care of Jamar. Try to build that defense in the draft. And I wait on that one. Because if the Cincinnati Bengals do not make and win a playoff game, I think Zach Taylor is fired. I think Zach Taylor is going to be kind of like that next Jim Caldwell where winning wasn't good enough. You made it to the Super Bowl, but listen, 3 years ago is like 30 years ago. You haven't been the same since. So that's what I would do. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock on with me. Yeah. You could be anywhere else. I don't want to use the word on twice. You could be anywhere else, but you choose to rock on with me on YouTube. We'll figure it out. I get accustomed to saying these things, and I got to change them up. You could be anywhere else, but you choose to rock on with me. Nope, because I still said on. There's a lot of places on YouTube you could be, but you choose to. Nope. See, I gotta change the word. I can't say the word on twice. I'll figure it out. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. We'll get it together eventually.